go. All right, everybody, welcome. We're about to start into the 2024 astrology forecast as seen through the lens of myself, Tiffany Harelik, my friends, Celeste Brooks of Astrology by Celeste, and Sarah El Harar of Astro Auntie. So we're going to get going here. I'm going to share the screen so that we can get into the presentation.
Meat and juice.
Prepared.
Juice. We got the juice, you guys. I hope you're thirsty because this is juicy.
There we go. How's that? You can see everything?
Gorgeous.
Lovely. So we're going to just introduce ourselves real quick in case you haven't worked with any of us before. I'm Tiffany. I'm a spiritual teacher of astrology, psychic development, and beekeeping. You can find me at my name, tiffanyharelik.com. I offer a really cool digital astrology calendar. And
the best.
it's pretty fun. I think each year gets a little bit better. If you're new to astrology, it's great because you can click on the description and see what the planetary vibes are. So you don't have to know astrology, or you can know astrology and work your own interpretation into it. I also offer a membership. I do one-on-one sessions. I offer spiritual forecasts and retreats. Next year, I'm going to take people to Tulum. So I see some of my Tulum attendees here. Really excited about that. For podcast, it's Hey, it's Tiffany. And my newsletter goes out every Friday. So I send you the astrology forecast every Friday, the week ahead. And it's free and fun and no strings attached. So if you'd like to join my community, you can just find me at tiffanyharelik.com. And Celeste.
Hi, everyone. I'm a Celeste Brooks, and I'm an astrologer, coach, and speaker. And for people who don't know me, I spent most of my career in corporate America in sales, marketing, and business development. And I followed my passion and purpose to be a full-time astrologer as Uranus, the planet of awakenings, came to my sun and Saturn squared my sun. Yeah, so made a big change. So I offer readings. I also do rectification. If you know anyone who doesn't know their birth time and wants to figure it out, I can help with that by back calculating from events in your life. I teach classes. I specialize in the moon and her cycles, and I do coaching. So you can join my community at astrologybyceleste.com. You'll get a free guide about setting intentions with the moon cycles. And I send out new moon and full moon newsletters with, my jam is mundane astrology, the astrology of worldly events. So I'm always correlating what's going on with what's happening. And my podcast is Celestial Insights.
Perfect. I went the wrong way.
So that's me. I'm Sarah El Harar. So first I want to start by really recommending all of my students to absolutely get on train with whatever Tiffany is doing and whatever Celeste is doing. These are really two of my astro besties. We learn together, we explore together, and I cannot recommend their work more. Tiff's calendar it's the tool that I use, and I've used many tools in my life as an astrologer, and it's the most practical, the easiest, I fucking adore it. Celeste, Celeste, where do I begin? Celeste's work with the moon cycles, ! Like everybody should get on that. And everything just Celeste does is just like, I love it. So the first thing I want to say about myself is I love my friends. The second thing I want to say about myself is that I too am a teacher. I have actually upcoming workshops that I'll tell you a little bit later about. I teach students of all levels of astrology, from beginning to intermediate to advanced students. I'm also a teacher of teachers, which is a lot of fun. And a teacher of astrologers, of professional astrologers. So I help astrologers make their practice better. I'm also an astrology coach, and I do readings for people. Unlike my besties here, my newsletter is irregular and inconsistent, but always good and super deep. I also have a community
It's
called
11/11. Sorry, had to interrupt you, Sarah.
Yay! Let's do it. Wish, wish, 11, 11, 11, 11. Pause
Okay.
and do it. Wish. Okay. So I have this community called 13 Moons where we get together on the Sunday before or after the new moon to work with our own personal cycles and look to the month ahead and do predictions together for the month ahead. So that's a lot of fun, and that's me, Astro Auntie. Cool.
Perfect. All right, I'm just helping some people on email to get in. So guys, today we had discussed as a little team dividing and perhaps conquering these topics separately. But as it turns out, we have different perspectives. And so we just kind of want to lead each of the sections differently and also provide conversation around it. And so we're going to start with the outer planets. What's staying the same, what's changing, what can you expect? We're going to definitely talk about the retrograde cycles and the eclipse cycles. And then one of my favorite parts is the predictions that we all have. So every morning I've woken up with like a different prediction, a different idea. And so I know that these will change over time. And as we see it now, you know, the observer affects the experiment. So you know, our promise to you guys is to deliver clear, concise, and accurate information with really we're just coming from our hearts. We're coming from our heart space to deliver this, to transmit the messages of the cosmos. And your promise to us is just to follow your free will, to follow your heart, to love each other, to love yourself, and to never, 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 never use astrology in a way that makes you afraid, scared, or nervous to live your life. So we invite you to love yourself and this life and this earth and each other. And so here we are, the beginning. So Sarah, would you lead us through this space?
Absolutely. So there are big changes happening in 2024 with the outer planets. So for those of you who don't know what outer planets are in astrology, we have two sets of planets. Inner planets that move really quick, and so that's the moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Although we know the moon is not a planet, okay, but it is in astrology, and the sun, of course. And then we have outer planets that move slower and that have a different impact in astrology, and so maybe arguably heavier weight of influence, whereas the inner planets would be more like personal activators and activating factors, but that change relatively quick. Those outer planets, they move slow, and so when they move and they do something, it's a big event. When one planet changes a sign, it's really, when an outer planet changes signs, it's a big event because they don't change signs all the time. Contrary to the moon, for instance, which changes signs every 2.5 days. So there's stuff that is staying the same in 2024 and big changes coming. What's staying the same, planet Saturn just entered Pisces this year in 2023, and it will stay in Pisces until 2025. So for us, when Celeste, Tiffany, and I were talking about what that meant for us, Saturn speaks about structures, it speaks about delays, maybe restrictions, solidity, and then Pisces is really the opposite of that. It's lack of structures, it's poetry and infinity in a way. So the mixture of these two, they're staying the same. We're saying this means build your dreams, let your consciousness be your guide, commit to your devotional and spiritual practices, and think about a father's love. Saturn represents the father, and Pisces would represent love. So I don't know, Celeste and Tiffany, if you have a word you want to say about Saturn and Pisces.
Perfect. I added the father's love this morning because I have a lot of clients that are going through some dilemmas with love and money, and we typically look at Venus for these things. However, Saturn and Pisces can also explain some of that, right? If you have daddy issues, if you have money issues, right, that's going to filter out into our relationships and how we view the world, the beliefs that we grew up with, Saturn and Pisces, the beliefs that are ingrained into our psyche. This is a good time to revisit some of those beliefs. What would the best father in the world want for you? What would his highest self want for you? And that's what life wants for you. And so Saturn and Pisces, also this year, I've been part of a spiritual development program where I was certified as a master teacher, and I certified other people through psychic development. Saturn, structure, Pisces, psychic development. So that's my bullet pointed contribution there.
Beautiful.
Yes. And I really feel with Saturn and Pisces, it's important to, like, the highest form of it is making your dreams, Pisces, a reality, Saturn.
Right.
But
Come back. Yeah.
also, like, not letting yourself get too depressed or fearful, Saturn, about the fact that things are so unclear right now, where things are so, there's so much confusion and disorientation. How can you maintain some stability through it with practices like routines and rituals that help ground you? I think is the message for Saturn and Pisces, but keep the faith.
I think what's really beautiful, if we think of Pisces as, this immensity of water and Saturn as a structure, we can also think of Saturn as Pisces as the container to hold the water. Water without a container can kind of like dissipate. And you can think of Saturn with Pisces as like a bathtub, it's water, but it has a container. Then we have Uranus and Taurus. Uranus and Taurus has been huge for a lot of us, Taurus's people and all fixed sign people. Have you felt Uranus in Taurus? So Uranus entered Taurus in 2018 and will stay there until 2026. We're traveling through the last degrees in 2024 and 2025 of Uranus and Taurus. So Uranus rules innovation, invention, freedom, liberation, also chaos, and invention. It's the higher octave of Venus, so it represents also a higher intelligence. Taurus represents safety, security, food, farms, and finances. So here we have freedom from attachment to safety and material, and innovation in food, farm, and finance. There's also the possibility with Uranus to liberate ourselves from from our fears in a way, because Taurus is so attached to safety. Celeste, I saw you wave.
Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury.
Yeah, that's what, didn't I say that?
You said Venus. It's okay.
Oh.
You said Venus, but it's just
Did I say Venus? No, so no, it's Mercury. Thank you for catching me, because I was thinking Mercury. Yeah, Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, of course. Neptune is a higher octave of Venus. So Mercury is, intelligence, and so Uranus as the higher octave is like really higher intelligence. So there's a lot of like thinking also about, leaving the Taurus farming world and adding maybe AI, innovation, and food, farms, and finance are going to be interesting to track down with them with that. Ladies, a word?
As our beekeeper and farmer of the group, I will say there is a lot of innovation with food, and some of it's great and some of it's not so great. I had people contact me that are doing robo kitchens, like they're not prepping for their restaurants anymore. They're using robots to do food prep. It rubs me the wrong way because I want to pour my heart and soul into the food, but it's helpful for some restaurant styles. we're seeing farming going vertical, right? You started seeing the vertical farming. You can put bees on rooftops in urban environments. We can bring attention to not using pesticides. We can bring attention to the importance of being good stewards of the earth with our forward thinking advancements. For me, like my minor thing is, instead of hand watering, I'm trying to do a watering system. So that's innovative for me where I am. It doesn't have to be so futuristic, right? It can be just right there. So yep.
And Celeste?
And I view Uranus as the great awakener that awakens you to things that you didn't think were possible. It really pushes us to find freedom from restrictions and differentiate ourselves from others. It's where you do things differently, is where you see Uranus in your chart. I notice a lot of times people feel a little nervous about a Uranus transit coming, but it can be a benefic or a malefic. It can be trip and fall, but it can also be you win the lottery. So
She's saying trip and fall because that's what it meant for her. It's true.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love Uranus energy.
Yeah, Uranus, change, possibility, the future, bringing the future. How do we bring the future to Taurus? So for all the Tauruses and the fixed signs that are having Uranus moment, you know, it's also about changing for liberating whatever is holding you back. Neptune, so Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. It's at the very last degrees of Pisces right now, and it will change in 2026. So that's really all those critical degrees, the last degrees, the 29 degrees. We're going to spend a lot of time with Neptune at the 29th degree, and that's really the moment when that there's like a big activation at the last degrees for an outer planet. So Neptune rules both illusion and intuition, both the spirit world and confusion. It's smoke and mirror. It's also complete lack of boundaries where oneness is really felt. I think of Neptune as a sponge that just absorbs everything and can leak everything. It's very porous. Pisces, you know, is ruled by Neptune. So Neptune is at home in Pisces. And so we can have a distortion, illusion of the Maya. The Maya is this illusion of this reality. So really a possibility of seeing something that's unspoken, like reading the vibes. There's future dreaming, the ability to kind of like live in this utopic land where all creation really comes from. The biggest dream possible with Neptune and Pisces, a dream that has no rules and no boundaries. And then the belief in love, in universal love. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. And so Venus being love, this worldly love, when we take it to the Neptune level, it becomes universal love. Yeah, so gorgeous, gorgeous. Celeste, tell me your thoughts about this.
Yeah, Neptune energy can be really, really beautiful, but it also, and you'll see in some of the forecasts, like you said, the illusions. And I think as Saturn and Neptune come together in the sign of Pisces, yeah, it's really important to try to, how can we, as I said before, how can we stay grounded despite so much confusion?
Yeah, Tiff, tell me.
Yeah, you know, Neptune is, if I could break it down, the yoga teacher in the sky for me, right? And so there's this like ability to transcend. There's this ability to blend. There's this ability to be one. And then in Pisces, right? And so there can be a lot of tuning out. There can be some escapism, and that doesn't all have to be bad, right? We see lots of movies. We've seen the rise of entertainment, you know, for the last whatever several years. But this idea that it can be very blurry, that it can be both deceiving and blissful. Neptune takes away, Neptune dissolves. So whatever is dissolving in your life is for the purpose of evolution, of evolving. And so, you know, I'm gonna save some of that for my later.
You know, you just said something that made me think of something like Neptune in Pisces is also like the bliss of illusion.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like
Yes.
reality is boring
Yes.
and violent and everything. And in Neptune and Pisces, there is definitely escapism. And so
Yes.
escapism with Netflix, like what do you do when there is war? Like you put Netflix and you get into this imaginary world where maybe you're even going to cry for what's going on the TV. You know, you're like not really here in your body in this present moment. Super, the bliss of illusion is there.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
And someone noted a lot is changing in 2026. Yeah.
Yes.
Saturn and Neptune are going to meet in Aries in 2026. So that is going to be, there's like big energetic shifts coming. So we're just like restructuring the world since Saturn and Pluto met at
in 2020.
in 2020 with the COVID pandemic. That was like a restart for humanity, and
Absolutely.
now we're rebuilding
It's
a
just
new world.
escalating. It's just built. It's like a snowball effect, and really, that's interesting because okay, so I'm going to save that also for later. I have so much. We have so much to say about these things. So let's continue. So what's changing, and what I'm going to continue to be talking about now for the next minute is Jupiter is going from Taurus to Gemini. And Pluto is finally moving from Capricorn to Aquarius, but it's continuing this little stretchy dance. Pluto, Capricorn, Aquarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Capricorn, Aquarius all year long. So let's start with Jupiter going from Taurus to Gemini. So Jupiter has spent most of 2023 in Taurus. Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter kisses everything that it touches. And in a way, sometimes it's too much kissing. You're like, back off, Jupiter. That's too much tongue. Okay. That might be like a Jupiter kiss. So Jupiter in Taurus also is like, sometimes like it could get like a little bit too much with both of this. Jupiter is also philosophy and understanding. And in Taurus, there's really this possibility of feeling blessed in regards with abundance, physical health, pleasure, values, maybe even economic upturns for yourself, and anything that is touched in your chart that is Taurus. So looking at your chart and knowing which house Taurus is in, this Jupiter has been transiting through that house for you. If you don't know what that is, hit us up. We'll give you a reading to talk about your Jupiter, but it's really important for you to look like where it's traveling from Taurus to Gemini in your chart, because it can mean growth thereof. Okay, so Jupiter grows, Jupiter makes more, Jupiter says more, louder, bigger. So whatever was happening in that house for you in Taurus, question that. And Jupiter is moving into Gemini, which was a very big, funny talk that we had with Tiffany and Celeste of our different points of view. And so that's why this trifecta is like really fun, is how the information circulates between us, because, you know, for each astrologer, you're going to hear different points of view, and they're not contradictory, they're complementary, you know. And so Gemini is really information. It's really this both end. And Jupiter is in detriment in Gemini. Jupiter doesn't love being in Gemini. It's uncomfortable in Gemini. It acts different in Gemini. And so now we have this too much information from Gemini and Jupiter blowing that up. So I live in a time of information is really what's going on, and all the information is going to just floodgates on that. So if you thought you had a lot of information before, you're about to get wowed. And our minds are not able to hold so much information, and particularly in Gemini, contradictory information. So using a good amount of skepticism and discernment is going to be really important in that time. It might be a time of division because Gemini says this and that, and when Jupiter magnifying it. For me, a philosophy on non-duality is really important. So Jupiter's philosophy, duality exists, and it's actually non-duality in Gemini, is that this and that are true at the same time, and that they're not opposite truths, that they're complementary, and that there's an all. With Jupiter in Gemini also, you can feel like, that you are a I love that, cultural custodian. That sounds like you, Tiffany.
I did it.
You did it. Tell me about that.
Well, I was just thinking this morning about, Jupiter and some of the shifts that can happen in the culture when we see these shifts. Whether it's different music, different philosophies, different ways of thinking, different ways of seeing the world, expanding the mind, expanding your horizons. And I was just thinking about, how, like, you've seen ancestry.com, you've seen the rise and fall of people studying their lineage and going back home to their roots has been a big theme in my readings with my clients lately. Like, a lot of people are very interested in their roots. And so Gemini being informative of that, where can that inform you? There's, for better or worse, there's a lot of information about studying your lineage and like breaking the chain and like, oh, I'm healing all the generations forward and backward. And here we go with the both. And while that's true, our ancestors gave us a lot of gifts, a lot of gifts, a lot of gifts. And we get to live these beautiful lives, because of their shoulders, you know what I mean? And so this idea of being a cultural custodian, maybe you didn't have the best upbringing. Maybe you're not in love with your lineage. Maybe you're not in love with your culture, but there's some gift to discover here. When the planet changes signs, there's always a little gift. And for me, that's one that I like woke up with. So slid that one in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate discernment, especially with the election coming up. I mean, there's so much about the transits we'll get into more that speak to, massive Jupiter. Jupiter makes everything bigger. It makes good things bigger and not so good things. Massive disinformation is going to be a topic that we start seeing blow up when Jupiter goes into Gemini. So how can you be discerning? How can you limit yourself from information overload that will bring psychic overwhelm? And find the sources that you feel are can be trusted is a big thing that I think
I love that. I love that. And what I was just thinking while we were talking, Celeste, what that reminded me of is like the difference between Jupiter's wisdom and Gemini being knowledge. And so really like thinking about what's the difference between wisdom and knowledge. And there is a conversation to that with Jupiter and Gemini. How much knowledge constitutes wisdom? ? Are they correlated? Are the most knowledgeable people the wisest ? Maybe not. Probably not, but those are all like questions that come with Jupiter and Gemini. Yeah. Beautiful. So here are some predictions that we have for that. So Jupiter, we are saying, is in detriment in Gemini, which is an alien environment, which creates imbalance and makes it kind of ineffective. Like that planet cannot act as it acts usually. So it was probably doing better in Taurus than it will be in Gemini. And any planet in fall or in detriment, any planet in debility gives you the possibility to do that planet differently. So for me, in those big heavy questions about wisdom and knowledge, like how do we bring humor, levity? How do we keep it light? How do we not believe everything we think? And can we have critical thinking, which is literally the fall of ideology, and kind of like questioning your own thinking? I love that people think that critical thinking means being critical of what is, which is not what critical thinking means. It means being critical of your own thinking and questioning yourself and maybe proving yourself wrong. So that could be like a great exercise to do in Jupiter and Gemini is like, don't believe what you think. Gemini influences a country's education, media, the post office, radio and transport, communications, in general, also science and its development. Jupiter rules religion and philosophy, capitalist ideology, the ideology of growth, more, legislation, finances, foreign trade, long journeys, and charitable institution. So we're seeing the possibility of information exchange. It's a period of enlightenment, hopefully, fingers crossed. There's going to be a lot of like student teacher symbolism and dynamics, a growth mindset, and also propaganda, fake news, too quick news, throwing data around, data flinging, and the need for digital media literacy intervention. And I love that Marissa said that in the comments. I read that. Marissa said, I saw it somewhere. Yeah, of media literacy. That's like super important right now. And living in the duality of your inner journey and this outer journey. Fabulous. Let's go.
I love that. And the post office is a big thing. When we were talking the other day, Sarah's like, do we really need to put the post office in there? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I wrote post office
States,
and I'm like, take it back. But then Celeste is like, no, don't take it back.
The 2024 election is happening. And just this week, there were elections when Mercury, which rules news and communication and mail, was trying Neptune in locations and postal locations or election offices. They were getting fentanyl in the mail and other things like that. So there are going to be people deliberately trying to take action against the mail with Jupiter and Gemini. So that's something to be very.
Okay, I have a micro to macro story for this. This is very micro to the macro of what we're talking about with the post office situation and voting and the election. So among my beekeeping community, we just had elections. And so there are people from the old guard that are advertising and saying, vote for these people, and these are the only ones, and you have to do it this way. Otherwise, you're not really, all of this, like, whoa. Well, their person didn't win. And so it then was like, you're cheating and we want to recount and this isn't right. And it was like, wow, the astrology is playing out in the micro ahead of time. So, and I love every single person in my beekeeping community. That's just the facts of what happened. And I can see that, we were arguing over paper ballots, right? Like what was in the mail, what wasn't, who counted it. So that's just a personal example, and you'll start to see astrology play out in the micro. But yeah, let's look at these dates to watch. The biggie.
So the biggies with Jupiter. So we have a Jupiter conjunct Uranus conjunction, a Jupiter conjunct Uranus conjunction, and they're going to be conjunct together, which is crazy. On April 20th. So this is like really literally one of the biggest dates to look at in the astrology of next year. Look, Jupiter makes everything bigger. We just spoke about Uranus, which is the revolutionary and the chaos. And so when Jupiter and Uranus come together, they can lead to explosive times, social upheaval, cultural breakthrough, scientific investment. What we know for sure is to be watching the news on April 20th and that week around that date, when that conjunction is going to be the most felt, we know something is happening. Unfortunately, April 20th, and so I'm sure it's many great people's birthday along the lines of, like, I'm sure many beautiful people are born on April 20th. It's also Hitler's birthday. That conjunction happens to be also conjunct Algol, which is super personal for me because I have Sun and Moon conjunct Algol, and Algol is the most unluckiest fixed star of the zodiac. Okay, so I'm not the most unlucky person in the world. Actually, I consider myself really favored, thank God. And so Algol doesn't play always as the worst thing that can happen. But on world events, it is really, Algol is the myth of Medusa. And so Medusa is a woman scorned, and it's a woman angry, and that is rebellious and revengeful. And so we can see with Uranus, Jupiter conjunct Algol together that it can look like really people getting really pissed off. Okay. So the previous occurrence of this aspect was on June 8th, 2010, which was conjunct a world point, and then it came back on January 4th, 2011. So looking back at 2010 and 2011 in your life would be interesting. Of course, this conjunction, so I'm personally looking forward to it because Jupiter conjunct my Sun and my Moon, and Uranus conjunct my Sun and my Moon. I'm looking forward to it. So on a personal level and on a collective level, it's going to look like very different things. So I might win the lottery. Just saying. Maybe April 20th, I win the lottery. There's a revolution outside. Look, not my fault. I'm going to let you girls talk a little bit about this because I know it's one of the biggest ones.
So I would say Taurus, in the sign of Taurus, there can be financial news as well, because yeah, Uranus can break things and Jupiter a massive breaking. One of the things I think may happen, may more countries unpeg from the dollar, can be something like that. There could be some big, like companies failing. We've been seeing a lot of banks failing, things like that. I do think there'll be big news about the war in Israel. Those Jupiter-Uranus conjunctions have been solid in Israel in the past, and with what's going on with Israel and Gaza. And also, the last time Jupiter and Uranus met in the sign of Taurus was back in 1941. So right around the time of World War II, Uranus and Taurus can be violation of land boundaries. So we're going to see civil unrest. We're going to see, a lot of upheaval, and it's so close to Algol. I think we'll be seeing an expansion of the conflict outside of the Middle East, and maybe new ones.
And Israel's sun is at 18 degrees of Taurus, is that right?
23.
23. Okay.
So this is conjunct within 2 degrees of Israel's sun.
So,
and it's King comes descendant. So it's a big one for
it's a big one. So unfortunately for all of us who have been following the Israeli Gaza conflict through the lens of astrology as well, not only politically and personally, but through the lens of astrology, the chart of Israel, it has been activated from day one on October 7th, when we had Mars conjunct South Node, I think.
Mars conjunct the South Node in Libra.
In Libra was conjunct their ascendant. And so all of these events that are unfolding are really triggering Israel's chart in a big way. And so this is how to practice mundane astrology, is that you would take the chart of a country and then follow its transits and look through history to be able to see what kind of transits do what. And so we're looking at a few dates that are going to be very important in the development of this conflict. The April 20th is really, really close. Why it's conjunct the sun, and I'm going to tell you why, is because it's also very close by date to the Day of Independence, actually, right? Very close, a few days away. What is it? Is it April 18th? Their birthday? I don't remember. Anyway, on May 18, which is my birthday, Sarah El-Harar, May 18, we have Jupiter Kazemi. I'm telling you, my next year birthday, girls, maybe I'm going to be a billionaire, so you should stick around. Just saying, stick around. May 18th, Jupiter Kazemi at 28 Taurus. So Jupiter Kazemi, what's a Kazemi is when a planet is at the center, heart of the sun. So it's a true sun conjunction. And at the same time, on May 18th, that we have this Jupiter Kazemi, we also will have Venus conjunct Uranus. So Venus is also the ruler of the South Node. So all of these Uranus, Pluto, Jupiter, Neptune, all of these things are really triggering this conflict. All of these planets are part of this conflict. So also May 18th on my birthday, we can look for something there. It's an auspicious time for body work, love at first sight, or what Celeste called meet cute. That's how the young people say it now. Physical reality, finances, sensuality, fertility, food, like all the yummy things. I say we do a feast for my birthday. I say like it's Jupiter Kazemi on my birthday. Like that sounds like a feast. A revelation over the past year transit. Maybe an economic uptick post-war. So that's gross that I wrote the fingers crossed a little emoji. But what I'm saying is that the horrible other side of war is economy uptick. And so when America spends billions of dollars in weapons, I don't know how that magic happens. There's like a dark magic that happens that you sell tons of weapons and then you get richer. I don't know why, how they've been doing that, but we know that that's true, right? So maybe that will look like a little boom. You guys will also have Americans like almost like I don't know. Okay. You want to say something about the Jupiter Kazemi people?
I think we should keep it moving forward.
And then August 19th and December 24th, Jupiter in Gemini is going to square Saturn in Pisces. So Jupiter, everything bigger, Saturn, delays, limitations, restrictions. This is like a yes-no situation. Jupiter and Saturn are like opposite energies, you know? And so inner tension builds energy. Jupiter expands, Saturn contracts. We will notice themes around growing pains, responsibilities, sacrifices, and balancing over and under doing things. This is also going to be the first square of Jupiter and Saturn after the Great Conjunction, which happened December 21st, 2020 at 0 degrees Aquarius. So we might be getting new findings, side effects, and therapies to in regards of COVID. This is a COVID transit that's moving forward in an area that means action and possibility. So
I also think one quick thing about that. I also think so Jupiter and Gemini, way too much information, square Saturn and Pisces, saying they're going to control information for our highest good. So I think there will be a lot more controls on free speech potentially around the world. And we're seeing it like in Israel right now. People, I posted about something about people being arrested for what they were saying in their WhatsApp and whatnot. Some Republicans have been talking about expelling college students from the country for what they've been saying. So really keep an eye on speech control, on speech with this.
Hmm.
The
And
square.
mind control, you know, that's why I'm so excited and passionate about psychic development, right? Look your own mind up, meet with the free thinkers, be inside yourself, understand how your intuition works. You were all born wise. We all have senses that extend into the spiritual world. You know, you could really be questioning your intuition around this time. You might be tapped into something that's too much information, that's overwhelming. So being discerning with your spiritual boundaries out there. But overall this year, it's like, be so careful and particular about what you let into your mind. Like Sarah said earlier, we don't have to think every thought that comes through. We can observe it, right? There are ideas coming through the collective consciousness, which I think we're maybe about to talk about with Pluto and Aquarius. Aquarius, the collective consciousness, right? There are ideas floating around. So whether I grab it or Sarah grabs it or Celeste grabs it, the ideas are going to be there floating through, and there will be some for you to take on and activate, and there will be some to let go, right? We don't have to say yes to everything. We also don't have to say no to everything. That yes, no, push, pull, foot on the gas, foot on the brake at the same time creates some inside tension, I guess, conflict. And so the universe has your back. So you can work with this in your favor. So you don't have to feel like the weight of the world and the craziness and the chaos of everything. You can become kind of the samurai of the energy and use it to fuel the direction that you're wanting to live this precious human life. So, sorry, I got a little crazy there. You guys want to talk about Pluto?
I
Yeah.
love getting crazy with you. You're my favorite, please, always. Pluto into Aquarius. Dun dun dun. So first of all, wherever Pluto goes dun dun dun. So it's not more dun 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 than it's ever been. Pluto just enters a room and goes dun dun dun. So this is a significant change. We wrote all of this last year because that's been happening in 2023. The first time Pluto entered Aquarius was March 24th, 2023. And it's been doing this dance, Aquarius, Capricorn, and it's going to be continuing to do this dance until November 20th, 2024. Okay, where it finally finishes and gets into Aquarius for good. So Pluto was in Capricorn for the last 20 years. We're seeing a lot of things that are being deconstructed. Basically, Pluto in Capricorn is the death of old structures. We are seeing the USA's Pluto return is in Capricorn. Patriarchal and corporate systems are being reevaluated. And so there's like really a dissolution of all Capricorn matters that we are seeing, like old ways, old systems are not standing anymore. Now that we're moving into Aquarius, what does that mean? So with Aquarius, we're ushering the future. Historically, women have been in power during periods of Pluto and Aquarius. So here we have Irene of Athens, Boudica, Empress Zoe, Queen Elizabeth, Bloody Mary. We have like a lot of matriarchal kind of energy possible.
Power figures.
Yeah,
Bloody
power.
Mary, not just like the Virgin Mary. Bloody
Right.
Mary, right?
Right. So it doesn't mean it doesn't mean better.
Yeah.
It just means different. Viking women also were allowed to choose their partner, initiate divorce, get their own land, serve in public roles. So all of these things can happen with Pluto and Aquarius. So will America get its first female president is a real question. I mean, who's on the short list to be that?
Only Nikki Haley
Okay, so let's see.
at this point.
Yeah.
Marianne is still kind of
But it's a 20-year transit, so there might not
So
be a
exactly,
female
and that might
president the
not be the
next
first.
term,
Exactly.
but eventually it's slow. Pluto moves at the speed of a glacier, but its impact is massive, and it's in the sign of the collective and technology.
So we have Aquarian energy that stimulates equality, Native American hot springs, Roman bathhouse, where people of all walks of life could put their weapons down to relax, heal, and restore themselves. There is a possibility of change in spiritual leadership dynamics. Christianity and the Church of England were also conceived during a period of Pluto in Aquarius. And then there's Pluto, power and control, and Aquarius, the people. So we will see new life of control and momentum in religious and spiritual groups. I think that also means totalitarianism and extreme rulership. I'm seeing also that Pluto is showing the shadow of a sign. Aquarius is a fixed air, so literally the control of thought, the control of expression. So with Pluto in Aquarius, there can be more totalitarian regimes. And so as we're talking previously about the possibility of the Saturn-Jupiter square to mean structure around communications, now we have Pluto and Aquarius that really can mean more control over what's being said and what's being thought. Fixed air is really how Aquarius shows up as stubborn and as one way. That's the shadow of Aquarius, and Pluto shows the shadow. So more extreme governments, control, censorship, canceling, surveillance, and the need to align with non-negotiables. There's possible change in Russia, China, Iran. I'm thinking there's also elections that are happening in France, and eventually in England. And I'm guessing that there's going to be more far-right governments coming into places in Europe, for sure.
Yeah, we also see in the collective like increases in crime and wild crime, seeing people gather together to run into stores to steal stuff. So we see the shadows of the group acting and exerting their power in unhealthy ways. But we've also seen a lot of strikes that have been unions are getting more influence again, like with the actors strike, the writers strike, the
100%.
UPS was almost going to go on strike. So people using their power to move the government or move the authority, Capricorn.
You know, I'm thinking the SAG-AFTRA strikes could also be definitely the Saturn and Pisces, right? How to put structure to the Piscean world of movie, writing, imagination, and TV, right? Real sustainable rules. And so, yeah. So with Pluto and Aquarius, there's this quote of Silva that Tiff loves, and she forgot that she put. She's like, who put this quote?
I was so excited. I was like, you guys like Silva too? And then it was like, no, we don't know who that is or whatever. So I must have
It was a parallel universe Tiffany who did it. So the quote says, the reason we were given psychic ability is so that we can use it to communicate with higher intelligence, to figure out what we were sent here to do and how to go about doing it. So the future requires we work with our intelligence, air, and dig up our shadows for rerouting. The Pluto, you know, is shadows transformation. I always say Pluto turns shit to fertilizer. It's really where you see the darkness, where you finally see something and there is possible transformation. So the correct attitude for this is, how can I make the world a better place for all? So Silva says making the world a better place for others is essential to get help from higher intelligence. And so tell me, Tiffany, can you expand on that?
Yes. So for higher intelligence, right? Like we're not just here to go it alone. We're not just here to be in our mind. We live in a world that is incredibly distorted and revolves around um like these really fixed ideas, right? Like we're supposed to work 9 to 5. Well, not us. The Aquarius is the free thinker. Pluto is power, but it's harnessing that power. So I just get really jazzed up with the idea of your prayer life taking off, your meditation life taking off, your yoga world taking off, and really just this freedom from suffering and pain. So I'll talk about that more when we get to our words, if we're going to do that this year. But the power of 8, this is a great tangible resource. So I absolutely want you guys to leave here thinking like, that's what I can do. That's the next thing I can do. Because I know sometimes this is huge and overwhelming. This is our coffee talk. And for all of you intelligent people here, this might be your coffee talk too. But if it's a little much, like one tangible thing you could do for discovering this Pluto and Aquarius moment and in the larger time of history is to check out the work of Lynn McTaggart. I think her first book was The Field. I loved it. I fell in love with her work. I was getting my master's in health psychology, and she brings a great science background to the world of intention setting and meditation. She also has a book about intentions, and she has a book called The Power of 8. And so for me, this is the ability to get in small groups of people and use the hive mind, use our minds in a positive way, use this as a time to create rather than receive the gong crashes of the world. So I could go on.
Love it.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So that's that. Yeah.
Did you
Oh.
have anything else, Celeste? It looks like we're doing.
No, I think that's good. It'll come back up as we go on. Yeah.
Okay, I agree. All right. So we're going to talk about the retrograde cycles, guys. There are 3 in Mercury, but we're starting the year, right? We're starting the year with Mercury completing its retrograde cycle in Sagittarius, where it will retrograde again at the end of the year. So the Sagittarius, right, ruled by Jupiter, a big theme of our presentation today. Sagittarius is about the big adventures of life. I have Sag rising. I love Sagittarius energy. It does take you on the magic carpet ride. So there are many positive things to say about Sag. However, we're starting January 1st, as Celeste pointed out in our data, with a Venus and Saturn square, which is kind of harsh as the mellow. You know what I mean? And so if you were like super stoked about January 1st, I would say go slow into the new year. Venus and Saturn squares can bring sadness, isolation, breakups. It can bring separation. It can bring a time when you need to unplug from everybody else's distortion, and you just need to be kind of in your own aura, your own energy. You need to unplug a little bit and do some internal love, right? And so this first retrograde cycle, as we start the new year, is a little bit quiet. It's a little bit more reflective. It's a little bit more, what pilgrimage do I want to go on this year? What walk do I want to be walking that is part of my talk, right? Where can I walk my talk here? And it can be disappointing. People can let us down. They're just people. So being aware of that, right? Sagittarius can sometimes be associated with the guru or the spiritual teachers. And Lord knows I've had my fair share of disappointments, both as a teacher and with teachers, right? And so just a big reminder that we're all just people, and we're all walking each other home, and we're all, here to learn from each other. So it's the experiences here that we're talking about with fire, with our instincts, with what we want to do, the hope that we see, the potential that we see, and Venus Saturn square, the disappointment that we can feel when we are so attached to the outcome of something going a certain way, right? So hold on loosely as we start the year. The 3 main retrograde cycles, the first one is in April. So all of April, of course, Aries is in Aries. And so our North Node is in Aries. Aries, of course, the sign of the self. In many ways, this retrograde cycle can be a time when you can find lost parts of yourself, right? And so for me, I love this idea of a sacred reunification of what? something that is in duality, right? At this point, Jupiter and Gemini is creeping up on us, and we're seeing what works and what doesn't work, what we are and what we aren't, us versus them, me versus the partnership. There is a huge duality there with the retrograde cycle touching base in the axis of the nodes. So, you know, what parts of yourself might you rediscover? What hidden talents might be coming back around? What needs to be restored or reunified within yourself, right? Over the course of the whole month. And where is 15 degrees of Aries in your chart, right? If you need help, we've got 3 astrologers here that will gladly walk you through the retrograde cycle. Hit us up for sure for sessions, because this is a fun one to play with, right? What part of yourself have you totally lost? In terms of healing work, right? There might be shatters in your shatters. That's not a word. Thanks for the grace for me to say that. There might be holes in your auric field. There might be moments in time where you had trauma with a capital T or trauma with a little t that was chronic and built up and built up and built up. And this wound can't hang out in your physical body anymore. It can't live in your headspace, Aries, anymore. And so if you see a pattern that's extremely frustrating, it's there, right, for release. It's not there to weigh you down. That's the gift of astrology. This too shall pass, and we know when. We know when, right? I could go into a tangent about that. The second one that we have is in August. And so because it goes from Virgo back into Leo, right? A retrograde cycle in Virgo, my midheaven is in Virgo. So I might be doing something personal with my work at that time, but at a greater scale, if we're looking at the retrograde cycle as an opportunity to redo or re-invoke or rework something, and it's in Virgo, right? To me, if you're going to do a cleanse, if you're going to rebuild your strength, if you're going to be working on your physical health, this is a great month to try some things out. It's a great month to purge, purify. I had some other very Scorpio words that I took out of this, but it's a good time to reorient. So first you get the nod to redo something here, to realign with your authentic self, and then the body catches up, right? The body catches up in August. Virgo is not just health. You guys are aware of this. Virgo also has to do with our gardens, our pets, our daily routine, the tiny things. It's the little things that count with Virgo, guys. So you might not be making a full body transformation in the month of August, but it's the little things that count that are going to add up. So if you're redoing some kind of hygiene routine, you know, I think that this would be a good time to just praise yourself for the little things and let them add up. Now in our little chat, our pre-workshop chat, the 3 of us were talking about how the retrograde cycle, when it goes back into Leo, you might see some themes revisited from the Venus retrograde cycle, which was last July through September. So if you guys watched last year, we were all very, very cautious and saying, maybe don't travel as much during that time. Now I know a lot of people did. I did, right? I was gone the whole month of August and it was great. However, right, this idea that like Venus retrograde in Leo, again, this idea that we're getting our mellows harshed. We had this dream trip to go to the Bahamas and it rained the whole 2 weeks that we were there. Not personally, I'm just trying to give you an example of what could happen. So not necessarily, it won't affect everybody the same way, but if you look back to these themes of the Venus retrograde cycle in Leo, July through September of 2023, you might notice, as there relationship drama in the news, is there some travel drama, right? If you can choose these important dates around love and moving about the world strategically, be aware that this time might not be the ideal time. And then the last retrograde cycle we have is the end of end of November 26th through December 15th. You'll notice, right, we're in the second one, we're in 21 degrees. The third one, we're in 22 degrees. And this is something to keep in mind because we're trying to weave the degrees, the theme through here. And so being mindful of this 21 degrees is going to be really important. The third one here in Sagittarius, The idea I have here is just to re-envision your life's true quest. You have the gift of Neptune and Pisces, you have the gift of imagination, you have the gift of thinking things clearly. The Silva quote, right? Jose Silva was born here in Texas, in El Paso, Texas, and he created this system. It's actually called the Silva method for mind control, which sounds horrifying. But back in the day, right, it wasn't really like mind control. It was more like you learn how to focus this instrument, this beautiful instrument, to a higher octave, right, and use it for something good. And your wishes will absolutely not ever come true if you're not also focused on the greater good of humanity. And so that there's visualization techniques that go with this, and it is a very, very powerful one of many beautiful meditation techniques. So how do you re-envision your life's truest quest? You guys, I used to be an athlete, right? Like I used to ride horses, compete. I used to be in the water ski team, compete. And before our competition, I would absolutely visualize how it was going to go. You don't want to watch the rodeo and people falling off the bulls right before you get on a horse to go jump 6-foot fences. You've got to visualize things going well. And if you're struggling with where to look at, check out your midheaven, check out your north node, check out the things that are pulling you forward with the gifts that the world wants from you. Let me pause there and let you guys talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want people to, so these degrees are important for you if you have planets or angles at the degrees. So where a planet stations is a hot degree, and it's like the energy is kind of grinding in. Just recently, Mercury stationed on my south node, and the south node has connotations of loss and falling, and I literally fell and hurt myself. So just keep that in mind. And for everyone, if you have planets or points around 21 or 22 of any sign, they are going to be in focus for next year, because you can see that these with the retrogrades. Also, Jupiter is going to station to go retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini. The Uranus Jupiter conjunction is at 21 degrees of Taurus. So no matter what sign, there's probably going to be a story about that planet, and you can come for a reading to talk about how to maybe best maximize or prepare for that for yourself. And a big part of, we learned that Venus in Leo retrograde was about extreme heat and discomfort for people. We saw Hawaii burn and Greece burn and other places around the world burn. So this transit, the Mercury retrograde, we may see themes resurface about extreme heat, I think, with that one.
I love that you brought that up too, because in the honey industry, right, California, which was in such big drought, where you live, you could talk more intelligently than I can, but in the honey industry, now California in that area is totally saturated and it can't keep the water. So the ground is eroding. So ground, Virgo, earth, Taurus, earth, all of these retrograde cycles are in fire with a little bit of earth. And I think it's really important to be mindful of what you shared, Celeste. And Sarah, it looks like you had a share too.
Yeah, I think when I look at the Mercury retrogrades in a year in advance, I always pay attention to what elements and the energy, the elemental energy that really wants to be revisited. And so when we have retrogrades that are in earth and fire, for me, it speaks a lot about like sustainable action and burning out. So we might feel in these places where we are going from earth back into fire and back into earth, like maybe a slowing down of our productivity, our ability to generate more, which is like the fire would give us the energy and the earth would be like really making it tangible. And so noticing that energetic kind of like pull during these retrogrades of your own earth and your own fire, and really being mindful of how you spend your energy. So in an ideal world, if I could create your schedules in advance, I would say these are really good time to pay attention to rest, pay attention to your schedule, pay attention to not burning out, to not doing too much, to not saying yes to too much on your plate during these Mercury retrograde periods.
Excellent. Now let's talk about Mars.
And maybe we just want to,
Yeah.
in case people aren't aware,
Yeah.
talk about what a retrograde means. It brings slowdowns, delays, reversals, the collapse of anything contemplated. Yeah, for any of the planets. So, and reoccurrences of previous situations. So that's something to think about. And with Mercury ruling communication and travel, those are going to be some of the big topics with that.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Okay, so the sacred reunification of myself in April, of my health in August, and of my adventure in November. I'm jumping the gun, guys, because I have Mars and Neptune in my first house in Sag, and I'm like, next slide, yeah, the next slide. So I'm sorry to the group.
It's good. Keep us moving. Keep us moving, Tiffany.
All right. So with Mars, so Celeste was saying, Mercury having to do with transportation, communication, of course, cars, like you want to make sure that your oil is changed, you want to make sure that things are working properly or plan for some delays and slowdowns. Well, Mars retrograde cycles, right? That can be kind of that internal combustion, that internal fire, that revisiting of what motivates you. And we're going to talk about this Mars retrograde at a collective level, because it is going to hit us all differently. So looking at your chart in 6 degrees of Leo, what does that mean for you personally? However, at a global level, right, Mars is going to retrograde. It's going to start in Leo, it'll back up into Cancer, and then it'll go direct in Cancer. So the degrees are there for you to play with. But it is in the end of the year, and it does overlap with a Mercury retrograde cycle. So I think about my kind of cute, naive example of the beekeeping votes. It's like, we had this cute thing, and it was clear and done and fair, but it's like back in your face, like, okay. So I feel like there's going to be some back in your face towards this end of December. I'm going to let my colleagues speak about the bullet points here, about the mundane bullet points. And then also in terms of the violence around the election, I think Celeste came up with that data. So I want to ask you to go into that part.
Yeah, so Mars is a planet of fighting and fornication. It's our energy, it's our drive, it's assertion, it's very primal. Mars is what gets what it wants, without regard for others. So 6 degrees of Leo is the north node of the United States. I use the Sibley chart, and it's in the 8th house, and the north node is an amplifier. So Mars stationing to go retrograde on the north node of the United States, I think, is very symbolic of the fact that there's going to be a lot of conflict around the 2024 election. Yeah, now this is also 4 degrees Leo is the moon of Israel, and in the 10th house of Israel. So it can be related to their leader as well. And yeah, I think the conflict in Israel is going to be pretty long going. And President Zelensky has his sun in Venus at 5 Aquarius, opposite where this is stationing. And he has a Mars in Leo. So there's like conflict is going to be amplified with this. And on October 4th, Mars will be in its shadow period.
Well,
so when
before you go there, so Leo and Aquarius, right? So talk about a little bit why that's such a challenge, astrologically.
Yeah, its oppositions are the like very tense aspects, and they tend to come in through other people. So you can see like a lot of aggression potentially coming at Zelensky, maybe himself, with his sun, and his Venus is there as well. So that could be about his popularity, or there can be other stories. And Aquarius is the collective, and Leo is more of like our self-expression. Aquarius can be the audience. Leo, how we experience ourselves. This Mars and Leo anger at like the special ones, those that are lifted up, like celebrities and royalty, or Leo topics as well.
People getting
performers
canceled,
getting canceled. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and the 10th house, right? If you think about Israel for a second, the 10th house being on the world stage, like being very publicly, like the whole world is interested and focused on what Israel needs, or what how, like just becomes a huge focus. And then the 8th house you mentioned is of course shared resources. It's much deeper than that, right? At a personal level, sex, the most intimate human bonds, the deepest we can feel about something, right? The deepest we can feel about something is juicy, that juicy 8th house stuff. So the idea of the United States being a little lit up about something, very passionate about something, especially when it comes to our joint ventures, in a way, I think is something that I really see with your data here too. So yeah. Sarah, did you have one in there before we do the election?
No.
Okay. Pass.
Pass.
All right, election time.
Yeah, so the election, Mars will be in its shadow period. So when a planet is in its shadow period, that means it's going to come back to that time. So I think we're not going to know who wins the election on election night. And yeah, I'm looking at it, and it's just, there's going to be, I think, a lot of chaos and upheaval around it. And on the election's on November 5th. On November 2nd, Mercury is at 29 degrees of Scorpio, and it's trining Mars at 29 degrees of Cancer. So think about Mercury with the male, while Mercury and Scorpio was trying Neptune and Pisces. We had this story about people sending like stuff in the mail, the fentanyl and other substances. I think this is going to be, Mars is like a war against the mail system, or election polling places, or something like that. There's people up to no good because Mars is in fall in the sign of Cancer. So a planet in fall can act in very imbalanced ways. And yeah, it's very concerning, this happening. And the 29th degree is the last degree of the sign. It's a degree of karmic degree. It's of crisis, and it's of decay. So this suggests a lot of conflict, and maybe even people fighting each other. And the United States is a Cancer sun, so you can think about that, battling in the family, battling within the country. I think we'll see. Hopefully it will be mostly words, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is some violence. And Mars switches into Leo on the day of the election. So whenever a planet goes into a sign, that to me, it suggests there's going to be a lot of news. Thank you. Thank you. I'll shut up there. It's wild. I'm trying to predict who's going to win the election. I mean, Donald Trump has some positive transits, but I don't think it's going to be him. But it could be a recurrent. Jupiter will be stationing to go retrograde on his Sun, a North Node conjunction in his 10th house of career, and retrogrades can be a recurrence of previous situation. So I'm not counting him out.
Jupiter, Uranus, anything can happen next year. Anything can happen, right? This is so juicy. We should do a whole election, like a whole 90 minutes on the election.
When we get closer, let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's revisit. Are you guys having fun? I'm following the comments. I'm following the chats. I know this is intense information, but are you kind of excited to have the keys of the universe? Like, are you guys enjoying this as much as I am? Like, this is so fascinating. This is like one of the highest forms of intellectual exchange. And I just love that we're gathering together to talk about it, good, bad, or otherwise. In terms of the outer planet retrogrades, you know, we were talking about the inner planet retrogrades, Mercury and Mars. Those you feel a little bit more acutely. because it seems a little bit more obvious. In terms of the outer planet retrogrades, they last a longer time. They're kind of background frequency. If you play the piano, it's like the bass chord, while you're do with your treble, with your up top, is the inner planets, and like the bass chord or the bass guitar versus the lead guitar. So this is the background frequency. And I invite you guys to take a screenshot of this. I want to keep us moving forward, if that's okay, because I think we want to get to some of the other stuff, and I'm trying to be mindful of the 90 minutes. But here
we're gonna go overnight.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna go over.
I just want to say a word about the outer
Please,
planets retrograding. Outer planets are dramatic. They retrograde all the time. And so every year, every outer planet is going to be retrograde. So definitely why we focus on the inner planet retrogrades, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, is because it's more important in itself than the retrograde of an outer planet. So
I always hate it when like one of the popular magazines or like the pop astrology is like, oh, Jupiter retrograde, everybody, like it's like this big situation. And I'm like, guys, so be mindful of what you put into your minds.
Exactly. And the
know?
only thing that why these outer planet retrogrades are so important in another way, it's because they will go by aspect to one another and kiss each other many times. So when we have like a conjunction, a square, and opposition between two outer planets, because they're going to go retrogrades, it happens multiple times and activates an aspect multiple times. But apart from that,
yeah.
So I do want to answer a question from the chat. It was asking about Biden. So the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction at 23 degrees of Taurus is in his 6th house, opposite his Mercury. And right now, Mars is on his Mercury, and the United States launched a bomb and blew up a Syrian weapons factory. So yes, his chart is very, very activated next year. That makes me think that the conflict is going to expand. And that Jupiter retrograde, the 21 degrees. So with these, just look at the degrees. If you have a planet near the degrees, there's going to be a story for you. And for the United States, that 21 Gemini is on our natal Mars. So this, to me as well, is going to expand Mars conflict in Gemini between brothers, siblings, you know, the people of the United States with the election. And yeah, with Uranus being on Trump's 24-degree midheaven, this is another thing that makes me concerned. It could be like he's going to jail or house arrest, or it could be like he's going to be president again. It's really concerning. And then someone asked about good news. We'll have scientific advancements. We talked about like potential like upticks for money for certain people who are impacted. So yeah, therapies around COVID. So there could be great things too, but it is a heavy year. Uranus being conjunct Algol is a big deal, meaning the last time that happened was around World War II. So just making you prepare, there's going to be chaos, but how can we stay calm through the chaos? It's not going to be the exact same.
Love it. People are getting the notification from the calendar that the moon has moved into Scorpio. And we're talking about very Scorpio topics. So yeah, okay, perfect. So we want to give you guys the scoop on the eclipses. If you have to go, no problem. We'll send you the replay. After the eclipses, we're going to move into our personal predictions, what we think is going to happen. And then we also have some treats for you at the end. So stay around if you want the snacks. But as we move into the eclipses, I just wanted to shine the light on Celeste, because she's teaching at NORWAC this year. And so if anybody is a budding astrologer or professional astrologer, check out NORWAC, because Celeste is teaching among the best of the best of the best of the best at one of the coolest conferences about this particular topic. So you're about to hear from really one of the top in our field on this particular topic. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't just casually move into eclipses here.
Tiffany, for pointing that out. As a salesperson, I forget to promote myself sometimes. So NORWAC is a Northwest Astrology Conference. It happens in Seattle every year around over the weekend of Memorial Day, so the end of May. And the lowest price to sign up stays until December 1st. So we'll all be there. So if you come, I mean, I'll be doing some readings live for people if they want. So yeah, I highly recommend the conference. It's so much fun getting together with astrologers. Yeah. So this March 25th, this lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Libra. So the South Node is in Libra, and the South Node is a bit of a drain, and Libra rules diplomacy. It rules things like alliances, relationships, win-win solutions, tact. You can see we just had our first solar eclipse in the sign of Libra that corresponded with the war in Israel. And just think about how people have been interrelating with each other. There is such a loss of the positive Libra energies is something that we are noticing with this. Now, other people are having new relationships, great things. This Aries, the North Node being in Aries and the South Node in Libra, there's a lot personally about ourselves taking action for ourselves, releasing people pleasing, releasing indecisiveness, being direct and honest. You can think about that. So there are two kinds of families with eclipses. There's one that is called the Metonic cycle, where every 19 years there'll be an eclipse at the same degree. So in your chart, it will be you're activated at the same degrees, but there'll be a different story potentially if it's conjunct one of your planets or points. The new moon right before this eclipse has Mars in Aquarius squaring Uranus. So there's going to be like expect the unexpected. Mars in Aquarius, the people are kind of excited or maybe angered or things like that and wanting to break free. And the new moon seeds the whole cycle. So Venus will conjoin Saturn and Pisces on March 21st. So this can be making or dissolving commitments. Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces. She loves to be here. This can be a really romantic love. This can be I do. This can be love at first sight, the meet cute. It can also be about mourning loss. So Meghan Markle has her moon, her Jupiter, and her Saturn, which Harry is her Saturn, all conjunct right around that point. So I think there's going to be some news about her and her life. Next year is a big year for her. I think she might, there might be a loss of one of her father, or yeah, potentially with that. But I don't want to predict some bad things for her, but there's going to be some big stuff for her. She could get pregnant again with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. But things I love about this eclipse, I think it can be really romantic for people because Venus is exalted and conjunct the asteroid Cupido, and Jupiter is conjunct the asteroid Eros. So there can be a lot of beautiful love stories around this. The moon is parallel Neptune, so there can be a lot of delusions, disillusions, or just like that beauty of falling in love or creative. I think we're going to see amazing art come out of this time. You know, all these actors have been on strike and the writers on strike. People have been creating masterpieces probably during this strike. And we may see some like incredible art. Yeah. The nodal journey will be halfway through that cycle. That when Mercury stations to go direct, I think it was April 27th, or I can't remember the date. That's a big date to be aware of. Yeah. Now, the USA is having a big thing happen. It happens every 30 years where we'll have a progressed new moon at 19 Pisces on the same day as this eclipse. So there's some big stories, some new start with the United States. And Pisces, it's very confusing. We'll see what happens. Yeah, with that. I think it's all about, yeah, it's confusing stuff. I'm wondering if TikTok will be, the country will ban TikTok, maybe something that happens around this time. We shall see. But every new moon's opens this 27-year cycle. So look back to see what was happening for you September 25th of last year, and did anything happen June 26th around this date of this year? We'll give 2 weeks on either side. This eclipse may continue that story. There may be some big revelation about that story that started. Would you like to chime in either about this eclipse?
I can answer. One of the questions was asking about the orbs for the eclipses, or I don't know, it's for planets, but what I want to say is that when there is an eclipse cycle, basically it starts at the 29th degree of a sign and it goes back all the way, reverse that sign, but it will go through the sign. That north node will go through whichever sign is being triggered. And so we don't know which one of the eclipses will really open something or bring something or take away something, but we know that one of them within the 4 that there will actually trigger your planet. So even if you have like the Pluto at 9 degrees of Libra, but it's another eclipse, like that Pluto can be triggered by a previous eclipse or a later eclipse. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, so they bounce back and forth between 2 houses in your chart. So your Aries and your Libra houses are bouncing back and forth. I use 5-degree orb when I'm looking at them. Eclipses have a wider orb because they're like new moons and full moons times 10,000. So if you don't see an event right away, it may happen within that year and a half that the nodes are traveling in the sign of Aries and Libra.
It'll make you a believer of astrology. I'll tell you that.
A lot of times things happen to the date or between the eclipses. Yeah. This one is a big deal. April 8th, I mean, this is a big year for the United States. There's no way to sugarcoat it. This 2024 election can be a huge turning point for the country on whether democracy survives or doesn't survive. Yeah, it's big deal. April 8th, there'll be a total solar eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries, which is conjunct Chiron in the 4th house of the chart of the United States. Chiron, the wounded healer, and the 4th house is the house of rebels in mundane astrology. It's also the house of land. I'm concerned about fires with this. I mean, Canada, are your fires still burning in Canada, Sarah?
No, babe, it's winter. That's it.
Okay, so good. The fires are out in Canada. So for your own life, this metonic cycle, April 9th of 1986 and April 8th of 2005, see what happened around that time in your life. There can be a repeat or something that rhymes around these cycles. Now, the Saros cycles also speak to more things on the collective energy. There's also a family that can speak to events coming up that are related to these years. This was my birth year. Okay, yeah. So the Bernadette Brady is an astrologer who delineated all of these Saros cycles families. So the Metonic cycle is every 19 years. The Saros is every 18 and a bit years. So bright ideas, flashes of genius, intuitive leaps, visions, vivid dreams. I highly recommend keeping a dream journal around here because there could be very, very vivid dreams, strong desires for freedom, even if only temporary. When I started preparing for 2024, this was like a month or 2 ago, the first thing I wrote on was the dam breaks. So I don't know if it's a literal dam, like a Hoover Dam, like something happens. I think it may be people monkeying with water, because at this eclipse, we've got Mars and Saturn and Neptune all in Pisces, a water sign. So I think there's going to be some kind of big water event. Yeah.
Do you
It
do you
could be.
remember that double dam break in Libya that happened a few months back, right? Where like I think 100,000 people
Mhm.
lost their houses. It was like really dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some water story. Colorado River, yes, Connie. There could be conflict around the Colorado River with the United States and Mexico, or I mean, a lot of things can be coming up. Extremes in relationships are possible, weather, big weather events, and yeah, this war peace thing. So this is when the Jupiter Uranus, Chiron goes Cazimi, and a Cazimi, like a planet before it's Cazimi, it's like things being planned in the dark of because a planet's kind of invisible. So this makes me also think about like domestic terror could be a thing. April is a month to kind of stay close to home, in my opinion, and be very aware of your circumstances. And this will open up a new cycle, but for ourselves, it can be really great time to set intentions for how you want to, for you, have new starts in your life. Eclipse can mean being rising up, or it can be like knocked out. New beginnings, great great endings happen around eclipses. Yeah, and April's is kind of a little bit of scary. Yes, it is. It just is. But oh, a massive dam break in Laos in 2018.
It's also in 19, which is close to 21.
Yeah, it's close to 21. That there's a lot. And so this is the ancients, these were times where leaders changed, like kings would die, or emperors or queens, or be overthrown. So eclipses can be big deals. The eclipse correlated with the war in Israel. Yeah. The North Node in Aries, the sign of conflict. So it can be an uptick in violence somewhere in the world. This is the path of the total eclipse. So I think we will be seeing things during the election. Look to these areas of the country to be real big hot spots for this year, next year.
Yeah, so Sarah and I will both be in totality. I'm in Austin.
Yeah, the path of totality. Yeah. And it doesn't mean necessarily anything bad is going to happen in the path of totality, but in all of it, but there will be hotspot places, I think, where we'll see maybe violence around the elections or schools. There's so much about schools or colleges, or yeah, we'll see.
Also in our little chat, there are I think astrology is in some ways, okay, it's science adjacent, it's witch adjacent, it's metaphysical adjacent, right? And so there's all these beliefs around the eclipse. Where are they good omens? Are they bad omens? Like historically they're bad. Some people, like myself, can't wait to go outside and see them. Other people don't believe in going outside at all. Some people think like this is the time to charge your crystals, and some people are like, you would be insane to charge your crystals on an eclipse. And so this is kind of an illustration of that Jupiter in Gemini. You're going to have to discern for yourself. And so you've got to trust yourself. And in order to trust yourself, you've got to love yourself and know yourself, right? Astrology is how you know yourself, right? We're all different. We're here for different missions. We can work together, but ultimately you're a spirit in this human body. And so knowing yourself, trusting yourself helps you make those discerning decisions. And somebody was asking, where can we see the path of eclipse in other places? I've looked it up on NASA before. Celeste and Sarah, do you have other sources that you like?
Google.
Google.
Yeah, you could just
Stop.
Google where is the eclipse. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine, easy. Okay.
Yeah, NASA is the great, but NASA is like a great place to look. Yeah, so September 18th, we're gonna have a lunar eclipse at 25 Pisces. So even though the nodes are still in Aries and Libra, we're gonna get a preview of what's gonna happen when the North Node moves into Pisces. So look at your chart. What do you have at 25 degrees of Pisces? This is the first eclipse of that Metonic cycle. And to me, with the it's an illustration again telling us we're going to have some chaos around the election, because Pisces is confusion. It's like the two fish swimming in opposite directions. It's yeah, I'm wondering if it may be correlated with some kind of cyber stuff, cyber attacks and things like that. So yeah, the Virgo new moon that opens this cycle. Mars is at 29 Gemini square Neptune at 29 Pisces. Here again, we're seeing the 29th degree, that last anaretic degree. And Venus in Libra is conjunct the South Node, again suggesting peace being sucked down the drain. And Uranus stations retrograde on a degree off of Algol, that fixed star that for the collective at 26 Taurus denotes times of catastrophe, chaos, and things like that. The war in Ukraine started when the North Node was on Algol, and you'll see throughout time Sandy Hook, something, I think there was an eclipse or something was on Algol at Sandy Hook, the school shooting and things like that. So it's there's something being seeded that's chaotic. Yeah. And this is when Mars is in Cancer, and the United States has a Cancer stellium. Yeah. And then September 15th will be interesting because Mars will square the transit nodes at that time. So home security are topics, nativism, like people wanting to like keep outsiders out, fighting within the family or fighting within the country, fighting for the underdog. What is being said without saying a word is also a topic with Mars in the sign of Cancer. And the eclipse is conjunct Neptune. So again, this could be like psychic experiences, a lot about boundary issues. Neptune dissolves boundaries and everything. It's conjunct the progressed moon of the United States. In mundane astrology, the moon rules the people, the sun rules the ruler, the authority. So this to me says it's going to impact people of the United States in some way. Now, it could also be a health stuff. As Saturn and Neptune move together in Pisces, there could be some new news around health or viruses or things like that. Yeah, that Mercury in Virgo being opposite Saturn in Pisces on the same day, there's going to be something about, it could be limitations on speech. Maybe this is about, about control with Pluto and Aquarius, totalitarian, like kind of control on thoughts and speech. Jupiter and Gemini, people wanting to say a lot, but squaring Saturn, being told you can't say this, you can't think this, that sort of thing could be coming up. Yeah.
This is after that Mercury retrograde cycle where Mercury's gone Virgo to Leo, to Virgo. And so again, the little things, when Mercury is in Virgo, it's the little things that count, the little things that add up. So take your health really seriously in August. You have the whole month to take your vitamins, to hydrate, to stay rested. You have the whole month to revisit the little things. So that you are prepared for perhaps good news with a health announcement, or your immune system is prepped, right? Like there's this lead up period I wanted to re-mention.
Yeah. And Marilyn's saying, be prepared, not scared. I mean, this too shall pass. Life will go on, but it's going to be just a lot. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully
I'm thinking with this eclipse, like the particularity of the eclipse being conjunct Neptune and Neptune forming a perfect sextile to both Uranus and Pluto at that moment. I mean, not perfect, but beautiful, a couple degrees off. And so we have the possibility actually of, because when Uranus and Pluto are trining, it's really ripe for revolution, discord, seeing what's not happening. Neptune gives even more of that illusion, but possibility, like the hope of bringing change. So it could be like a lot of like change movements that are just being born at that time too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Pluto and Aquarius was the American Revolution and the French Revolution.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and then the solar eclipse at 10 Libra. So you can look back, those are the dates, October 3rd, 1986 and 2005. We had eclipses of that on that same degree. Now, the Bernadette Brady's delineation of the Saros cycle, 8 South, is that separation and loss, finishing something and being sad to let it go. Beware of physical injury through physical activity. A lot of sports injuries could be coming up. Now, 10 Libra is the Neptune of Israel. So there could be big news around that in the 12th house of self-undoing. So we'll see what happens. This is royal news. The eclipse has conjunct the fixed star diadem. When Queen Elizabeth died, Mercury went retrograde on this fixed star diadem. It's the crown star. And Black Moon Lilith. So women, this could be about women rising up. We'll see. I think abortion is going to be a big issue that drives people to the polls next year as well. We've seen in the United States that, people are outraged by the attempts to take rights away from people and fighting back. Now, a thing that is to be aware of is that Venus in Scorpio is in fall, in detriment, I should say, sorry, and besieged, which is between a rock and a hard place, between Mars and Saturn, between conflict and limitations, between October 4th and 8th. So I wouldn't plan a wedding or any kind of big celebration during those days. You're likely Venus things, don't get any plastic surgery or beauty changes around that time. It's not a good time to start a fight with your partner because it can be like really not, difficult. And this also, Venus and Mars in this trine on October 8th. Now, this can be very passionate and sexy, but they're both in detriment. So I feel like this is people getting together to start trouble around the election and that sort of thing. Nationalism rallies, seditious conspiracies, storms, water problems. Yeah. Yeah, September 30th is an interesting time as well. Mars trine Saturn. They are the malefics. When they get together, things can go down the tubes easily, or you can have the energy and the drive to achieve. So there's the personal and there's the collective energy. So it's just kind of a little tough one.
Hey, we made it. We made it. Do you guys have any predictions?
Oh, Andrea, you could still have a beautiful birthday and it could be great things for you with their
Never accept no gifts on your birthday, Andrea.
Yeah.
Never.
Eclipses can bring great new beginnings. So don't worry.
Yeah.
They can be.
This is important for everybody who's listening, like to really understand when we're talking about things that it could mean for the collective. And it's true that it looks like a collective shit show politically next year, And I think that anybody who's been following the outer planet cycles since 2020 saw that shit shows were going to happen. And so there is a thing like history is evolving under our feet. Like the rug of history is just being deployed while we are living our singular existences. And it's true that the collective has a lot of work to do. And so that's like humanity, big H, but us people, little p, we're going through our different evolution. And so eclipses can bring beautiful gifts. Uranus can free you from things that were holding you back. You know, Jupiter French kisses you in the most beautiful way. I've received awesome news before during eclipses, like big changes for me, unexpected surprises. So I'm personally, me, Sarah, all my personal stuff is getting activated in April. So April through May, like my chart is getting hit, but I'm looking forward personally to April and May, as also I'm hanging on the edge of my seat for what it means for countries. And so it's important that also that separation, you know, and understanding that we can be lucky and have love and expansion of some stuff while also shit is happening on the outside of us, and may our cups get filled so we have something to give. So I'm really hoping that it pours on me this year so I can pour it back out to all of those who need it, you know. Yeah. So no fear, no fear. That was the first agreement. No fear. Yeah.
Good.
Rent
Agreed.
off.
That was the first agreement. Okay, so I have Celeste first because she was doing eclipses, so I thought it would be natural for her to keep going with hers. But we can reorient if you need a breather.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah, just the beginning of the year, I think could be a little rocky travel wise. This may be just storms or things like that with the Venus in Sagittarius, which rules long distance travel. And it's like a lot of fun, feisty energy squaring Saturn and Pisces, a bummer. So just keep that in mind. Give yourself extra time. Also, mid-February is a really big deal because Venus, Mars, and Pluto are going to be co-present in the sign of Aquarius. This could be big tech news, the TikTok ban, expansion of the war, stuff like that. When Mars met Saturn in Aquarius is when we did lockdown. Mars, how we want to take movement, and Saturn, no, you're not going anywhere. With Mars meeting Pluto, this will be the first time this has happened since the 1700s. So it's going to be like something big is coming around the collective and also relating to Venus topics like entertainment. So that's why I'm wondering if TikTok is going to be a big topic, or is it just going to be more control over speech and what we can do? We'll see. The eclipses in March, April, it's going to be kind of bananas. There could be social unrest and earthquakes and all that kind of stuff are always in line with eclipses. Natural disasters can happen around that time. We shall see. June 2nd through 4th, this could be a great time for launching things. Jupiter is trine Pluto, so that's like big access to power, change, transformation. It's right around that time. Venus is going to be reborn in the sign of Gemini, Venus Cazimi. So this could be really interesting time for people, especially if your birthday is around then. It'd be good for you. Yeah. Now, political violence and chaos surrounding the 2024 election. I don't think we're going to know who won on the day of the election. December 5th, the progressed moon of the United States moves into Aries. So that to me suggests like conflict or fighting. Yeah. But I think we're going to have amazing technology and scientific breakthroughs, controls of speech and information, unplugging for the dollar. Great art too, I think could be coming up, but there will be expansion of global conflicts.
Thank you,
I
Celeste.
think.
Yeah. Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not easy to come up with these ideas, right? There's the weight of people like looking at you for your predictions and like wanting them or to see if they're going to come true or not. It's not easy, but it is fun. It is fun to kind of play with the energy and see what we think. So I think I have me next. I have mine a little differently, broken up a little differently. So Jupiter Uranus, right, in April. I think we're going to have the mass UFO, mass alien sightings. Uranus rules aliens and space travel and the future. And are we future humans coming back to visit our past selves? I don't know. But I do think that this intergalactic travel. So I did this hypnosis for my birthday last year, and one of the questions I asked was why Bigfoot? Like, what's the deal? What's really going on there? We don't have any evidence. I don't know why that was one of my birthday questions. It came out, and under hypnosis, it said I guess the guide said yes, they are here to show intergalactic travel. So that could be a marker. Regardless whether you see UFO or aliens or not, I think it's going to continue to be a theme. I think especially with Neptune and Pisces, if you are a filmmaker, if you are a docudrama maker, if you are a story writer, if you are interested in folklore, I have two cousins that saw the mass sighting here in Texas. That they've just put on Encounters. I don't know if you guys have seen that on Netflix, but it's like an alien documentary situation. And there's two people in my family that were part of that mass sighting. So it does happen. And so I feel like that's going to be in the news. I feel, especially there's more stuff that's it's weird that it's common now, right? Some of the news that came out in LA was like, oh yeah, we saw that one. We all saw that one. And it's like blasé. It's not like, whoa. So I think that's an interesting thing to be looking for. Also, more media news discoveries around underground, undersea civilizations, Saturn and Pisces, but also Jupiter, Uranus. So you see like that we are discovering more underground civilizations, or you can Google it and see that we're discovering more from the past, but also you see people like trying to live underwater, right? And so you can see kind of the early stages of that. I think that's going to be part of our news next year. Jupiter and Gemini and Neptune and Pisces are really messing me up this morning, right? Grandiose distortions, lies by omission, not really, just kind of leaving something out back here. Hypnosis, could be very useful if you have the right practitioner. I think remote viewing is a big topic, especially next year. So remote viewing, for better or worse, right? This is a skill you can learn. It's something that I teach. If you are new to remote viewing, Russell Targ is the master in my mind. Lots of documentaries. He's written lots of books. He's whose technique I personally like to teach with. And then I think that we might see some more news around banned books, banned literature, an overthrow of the holy texts, people interpreting spiritual texts way differently, or a new language emerges that means that it all means this instead, right? The inner and outer journeys here with Jupiter and Gemini and Neptune and Pisces. So you're going on an adventure outwardly, but it's also inwardly. So these pilgrimages. I know that Sarah and I both are teaching over in foreign lands, Jupiter, Gemini, teaching in foreign lands. What stuff? Neptune and Pisces, this kind of inner journey that we lead people on with astrology and yoga. I think the journeys are going to continue. I think the rise of psychedelics are going to just continue to blow up. People want an escape. They want to get out of here. They don't want to be here. They also want to look behind the Maya, peel something back, get into the LSD, mushroom, ayahuasca. Like, it's way more mainstream than it's ever been. And I think it will continue to just be in our faces next year. Internet friends, that's what we are. Sarah, Celeste, and I, internet friends, Jupiter, Gemini. I think you're going to continue to be making internet friends. And the idea, okay, so Gemini also rules neighborhoods. Y'all, I just found a Zen center that's like a mile from my place here in Austin. And it's like It's so perfect. Why haven't I found it before? Wake up to something that's interesting in your neighborhood that will expand your mind, that will bring you inner peace, that will bring you a sense of community. There might be something right down the street that you're like, what? I never knew that this thing was right here. So, and then Saturn and Pisces, to circulate the light, right? To circulate the light is a more feminine journey, but everybody can do it. I challenge us to lose interest in debating the past, debating what happened, looking over our shoulder. Yes, we look over our shoulder in astrology to find history and certain anchor points, but I want us to find interest in agreement, and I want us to find interest in similarities. And one of my personal things, like, we all have arguments. One of mine is, hey, I don't want to argue with somebody that I love so much, right? Because to me, it's not, yes, we can have a difference of opinion for sure in a safe, happy, comfortable way. I have a difference of opinion with most people in my family, right? But I don't want to argue with somebody that I love, love, love so much. So can we talk cool-headedly? If not, do I need to take a pause? They're Ram Dass, right? Everybody's just God walking around in drag. So a reminder that we're all reflections of the same one heart. Saturn and Pisces. What does the best dad in the world want for you? That's what life wants for you. Really. This really is what life wants for you. So reunification with your own faith, that may look way different than something that is collectively driven. So, Sarah.
I don't even remember what I wrote on this slide. I'm like, did I do predictions? Like, I don't. Oh, yeah. So definitely the rising of right-wing extreme politics in Europe. France is going through their Pluto return with an Aquarius. And there's definitely like a lot, the Pluto return of the revolution, actually, because it's not the Pluto return of the chart of France, because France has had multiple charts and they refresh their constitution once in a while, which I would recommend America to do. Get a new chart, a new constitution, new chart, fresh start, new chart. Who this? But there's definitely, with Pluto and Aquarius, the rising of right-wing extreme politics in Europe, which is starting to happen now, and I'm not seeing it stopping. I'm seeing it getting worse as we look to particularly, I think it was Belgium, Italy, France, and Spain that were the most touched, and England somewhat as well. More state control in media as a reaction to deep fakes. I think with Pluto in Aquarius, the possibility for the technology to just go like really scary, and in places where there's a lot of like, fake things, but deep fakes where you're able to take the face of somebody, the voice of somebody, and just like make videos pretending with AI, etc. Like, it's really hard to know what is real and what is not real. And I think that's where the state control will happen, as we saw with the square of Saturn and Jupiter. New developments regarding COVID-19, marking the end of the chapter. So what started in 2020 is now officially moving forward. There are a lot of different steps to this. So it was a triple conjunction that happened between 2019 and December of 2020, December of 2019 and December of 2020, where it was first a Jupiter-Pluto, then a Saturn-Pluto, then it was Saturn and Jupiter finally getting together and opening really that 2020 year with a bang. All of these planets have moved that are now in new aspects, which really means that there is new development. We are moving forward. So I'm really hoping that there might be like an antiviral medication, something that we can get, from the pharmacy really quick. If you have COVID, boom, boom, it's done. There might also be revelations and clarifications around things that we do not know. Like, for instance, the lab leak has been just a theory for most of us. Like most of us now don't really think that it was bat soup or whatever they were telling us in the beginning. And so we still haven't had confirmation of any of the origins and the true story of what happened. And I think that we might start to get like really news regarding COVID. February 13, 17, and 21 are big days for Israel. All of these Mars, Venus, Pluto, and the Mars, Venus transits of 2023, Mars and Venus are the rulers of the South Node and the North Node. So every time that they are triggering one of the points that was happening at the Pluto square, the nodes eclipse that happened in October, right? It was an eclipse with Pluto squaring the nodes. So this is a new development of this. Now, Mars and Venus, the rulers of the nodes, are conjunct Pluto. There's definitely in February going to be some big event concerning Gaza and possibly Netanyahu. On June 3rd, and so that continues throughout the year. On June 3rd, there's Jupiter trine Pluto. So this is what I'm talking about. Jupiter was conjunct Pluto back in 2019. Now we have the next step of that, and it's a positive next step. It's the trine, not the square. And so on a collective level, this means good news regarding that conjunction that happened April 4th, 2020 at 24 degrees of Capricorn. So yeah, so that's me, you know. I'm really thinking that this is like the end of COVID as we know it right now, or what we think we know about COVID, or how we deal and we handle COVID. Like we're really turning a page. And I remember when it started, looking to now as a development and telling my clients, my students, my friends who would tell me, when is this changing? And I would say, not before end of 2023, 2024, because that's what I would see in the transit. So I'm really hoping that this is this, you know? Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Amazing. Okay, so we just have a few more slides for you guys. I want to make sure you know where to find us, and I want to leave a little room for some questions. I think we've been answering them as we can in the chat, but feel free to pop a few more in. Because Sarah, you were last up, I put your promo slide here. You want to tell people what's cooking in your world?
Yeah, absolutely. So I give this workshop series twice a year. It's super popular. A lot of people who are in this room right now already took them. But basically, it's 3 workshops consecutive that are meant to teach you better mastery of astrology. So this is for students who know the signs, who know the planets, but maybe don't know how to read a chart yet, or how to read a chart. This is like, if you know how to read a chart, it's going to make your readings much better. And so the first workshop is on aspects. Planetary aspects is what we're talking about when we're saying Pluto square the nodes. A square is an aspect. So I teach aspects, and reading aspects is really essential. I consider it the secret code of astrology. Then I have another one right after, which is houses, rulers, and tenants, which teaches you how to find the details of your personal life in a chart. And then the third and last workshop is Introduction to Predictions and Horoscopes, which teaches you a little bit of techniques to be able to look into the future. All 3, each one of them is, oh, this is not true. It's not $22. It's $222 each. But all 3 together, the bundle is for $555. It's really well worth the investment. It will take your booty from baby astrologer to better astrologer for sure, and give you a lot of language to look at charts. I forgot to put this here, but I also have a couple places left for my retreat in Costa Rica, which is happening from the January 13th to 20th. So we're just looking for 2 more people to join us. It's in Nosara, Costa Rica, in the middle of winter. We're going to start the year fresh, do some astrology, do some breath work, meditation, and embodiment practices with my friend Sarah Gallagher. So, and if you want to know about this, hit me up, astroauntie.com.
Awesome. I have Celeste next.
Yeah, so you can go to my website or type this in to get a free Setting Intentions with the Moon Cycles ebook, or join me for my monthly Moon Mastery workshops. The Scorpio one is tomorrow, and the Sagittarius one is December 10th, taught on Zoom. The advantage of coming live is that I do hot take chart readings for people. And yeah, I also teach astrology, and so you can stay tuned for more courses. I do cosmic coaching and astrology mentoring as well. So Kepler College, I'll be part of their 2024 astrology forecast with other astrologers. Achuta Bava or Adam Ellenboss is one of them, who's from Nightlight Astrology, who will be presenting. That's December 2nd, and the Organization of Professional Astrology. I'll be doing that forecast with Lee Lehman and Wendy Stacy on December 17th, sharing different things than what I did today, as well as thank you, Tiffany, for reminding me that I'm going to be at NORWAC next May teaching about eclipses. So if you get on my mailing list, I do new moon and full moon emails. And I do a lot on Instagram, so follow me there at Astrology by Celeste, and the Celestial Insights podcast, available wherever you listen, helps you navigate the energies of a week like a boss. It's available weekly.
Perfect. Yes. Okay. And I'm Tiffany. I have a lot going on. I have Sag rising. Blah! There's Tiffany. So I was invited to do the spiritual horoscopes this year for Stormy's channel. And so she invited 5 astrologers. Some of you may have read Christopher Renstrom's work. He's on the panel. And there's a free version coming out on Stormy's channel. So she's such a cool chick. She just recently moved to Spain. She's very empowering, very interesting, like has a great channel. So I invite you to check her channel out too. My horoscope, along with the 5 other on the panel, will be free and live. It's a short version. There's a bigger, longer version available for purchase, an hour and a half for each sign. I went through month by month by month your horoscope. It's available on sale in November, $19 at my site, tiffanyharelik.com. I'm also recently certified under the Lisa Williams International School of Spiritual Development. I'm very proud of this accomplishment. And she asked me to teach an astrology certification course this year for her international school. It's a big deal. It's really cool. Her school is traditionally psychic mediumship development. And so this is the first time that astrology is being offered. And so astrology.lisawilliams.com, you can find all the stuff there, and you can see that I'm teaching a beginner workshop. This is all next year, but just bookmark it, keep it in mind. That's the landing page to find me over there. I'm going to Tulum. We also have a couple spots left. We're working with fixed stars. We're working with progressed moons. We're working, like, each day is something a little different. The first day we're going to be working with the sun and the ruins, the temples. So we're going up into the sunlight, and then we're going to go into the cenotes underwater with the progressed moons and the subconscious changes that are happening in each of our charts. I'm so excited about that. Hit me up if you want a discovery call. And last but not least, everybody here, if you'd like to check out the membership that I offer, use the code 1 month. You'll get a 1 month for free. So I would love for you to join me. It's a really fun community. I see a lot of my community members here. I offer psychic readings and astrology classes to my community. You also get a Tarot Friday. So you get a tarot reading every Friday in your inbox. So check it out. If you want to just see what the vibe is about, this is a great month to do it, because you also get access to all of the past classes from this year. So even if you don't want to be a member, it's a good time to go back and watch all of the past classes for this offer. So tiffanyharelik.com and use the code 1 month. These are our websites in case you missed it throughout the presentation. My friends are so sweet to help me market this calendar, and Sarah and Celeste both have a special code. So use your code from your astrologer. If you don't have a special code and you want a discount code, email your astrologer so they get credit. And if you're my member, use your discount code, and you can get everything is 25% off for my members. That's another thing. You get 25% off everything all the time, unlimited readings. So the astrology calendar, some of you guys were saying, yeah, it's dinging in, it's giving me the notification. This is now in 6 languages this year. That's so cool. That's AI working on my behalf, on your behalf, right? We're making astrology available to the masses. This is super empowering and interesting. A great time to be alive. We are in an age that is unlike any other. I know that we brought some question marks to you today, some things that you're going to be thinking about for the rest of the year. Please hang out with us. We sometimes get together on Instagram, so you'll see us hanging out and talking about stuff on Instagram. Mine is, hey, it's Tiffany Harelik. I switched. Celeste is Astrology by Celeste, and Sarah's is Astro Auntie. So that's kind of where we are with the 2024 forecast. We want you to love yourself. We want you to love this life, and we want you to love this world, and we want you to love each other. So I think with that, guys, that's the conclusion of our forecast. I'm going to stop our share. I don't think we have any. Yeah, no, nothing else. I'm going to stop the share so we can see your beautiful faces. Stop. Let's see. Does that look normal for everyone? Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to unpin us so that we can see everybody. And I'm seeing some kudos, but if you also have some questions right now, we'd love to help out for a few more minutes here. Oh, geez. Spotlight. Okay. Wow, look at all of you. This is so great. Y'all, this was so much fun. Thanks for hanging out with us. I know we went over. I knew we were going to go over. I didn't mean to mismarket it.
Next year we have to make it 2 hours, and we'll work to stay within the 2 hours.
Yeah. Did you have any ahas? Do you have any positive feedback or constructive criticism you want to offer? It sounds like everybody had a good time. I'm going to send you guys.
Well, Sarah's going to create the feedback form, so we'd love for you to respond to that, of what you'd like more of, what less. Yeah, anything you want to share.
Yep, and I'll email that out to everybody so that you have the feedback form and the replay and all of our offers. And thank you for your time. You know, it's an honor to do this work. It really is my greatest pleasure. So much fun. So anything else from you guys?
Yeah, Marilyn's asking about a third-party candidate. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's a whole thing. I think, yeah, this election will be like no other. And there could be,
and that's to say something. That's something, right? Because if it's like no other, and compared to like previous elections that y'all have had, honestly, America, from Bush and Al Gore, like what was that? And then I mean, was it ever chill? Did you guys ever have like a chill election? Not since I'm born. And then so that's to say something. If it's big compared to very big, it's gonna be huge. Yeah.
Well, this was so great. Thank you, Tiffany,
Thank you so much
for leading this, and thank you everyone for joining. And yeah.
And yes, we will do this every year. We are like involved in each other. We committed to this trifecta. We love working with each other. So you can expect us to be here next year and the year after that and the year after that. And then we'll be grannies together doing this in our old age.
And we're gonna check in the quarter. So we'll keep you informed too. So we're gonna check in the quarter.
And make sure you follow the three of us online so that you don't miss anything that we might be doing together.
Mary says Astro Grannies. Whose client are you, Mary? I love
seriously. Seriously, Mary? Yeah, that's
Well, that's what Sarah just said.
I love it. Yes,
Yeah.
Astro Grannies together. It's perfect.
This is what will be the Astro Grannies. They're coming to a new AI Pluto and Aquarius platform soon.
Well, go make your 11/11 wishes. Have a great day, guys, and namaste.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
everyone.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, everybody. Recording stopped.
Oh, yeah.
You like when I talk to you in the
Yeah.
voice of the lady?
Thank you. Recording stop.